is NXT superstar Dexter Loomis, and I want you to do me a favor. Check out good mic work commentaries on YouTube. Listen to the podcast, subscribe. And if you don't, we're gonna have a problem.
Yo, holy shit. What's up going on, guys? I'm almost speechless here, jumbling my words. Holy shit, that was a fantastic pay-per-view. First and foremost, hats off to the men and women at NXT. Y'all played great tonight. You brought it. I think some fans during the build to this particular show were thinking that in terms of NXT takeovers, maybe the card is a little bit slightly more underwhelming than most cards. And it was going to be up to the talent here to pull off a great show. And they did literally from top to bottom. Not one weak match on this card. They were all good. I thought if one match had the potential to be weak, it would be Loomis and Grimes. And I think they made a case for the greatest strap match of all time tonight. So WWE and NXT, they hit a home run this evening. This was fantastic. Hats off to the ladies in the opening War Games match. Was 10 times better than I thought it would be. Main event is being basically reviewed right now on social media as the greatest War Games match ever. And I think it's definitely the greatest War Games match for the women ever, but they've only had two, right? But ever for the men, dating all the way back to the NWA days, that's something to be said. It was a lot of action, a lot of hard-hitting stuff. Everybody got their fucking ass kicked tonight, and it was just beautiful from top to bottom. A solid, fun 3 hours of wrestling. Hats off to you guys. It doesn't get much better than that. So hit me with your letter grades or your 1 through 10s. What did you think of the show? I'm sure the feedback is going to be overwhelmingly positive. If you hated this show, I suggest you just stop watching wrestling because that's stupid. So let me know what you think. Can I be heard? Okay, all right, we're good. Making sure I thought my mic was off. A lot of people in there in the chat already saying good things. It was wonderful. We're going to talk about each and every match here. I've got some ideas. In terms of my predictions, I had every match right except the 2 War Games matches. I mean, I don't know who in the hell would have predicted the heels in the women's side. That women's team for the baby faces did not have a wink leak at all. That was a badass team. I thought for sure that they were going to take that all the way. Turned out to be the heels, so I got that wrong. And you're not going to do 2 heel wins in both matches. And I kind of predicted a Pat McAfee team victory, but on the condition that there was a heel turn. So I kind of did a cop out there. I was like, Undisputed Era with no heel turn, Pat McAfee's group with a heel turn. We did not see a heel turn, and Undisputed Era reigned supreme. So I got those 2 matches wrong, but everything in the middle I got right, including the Johnny Gargano thing. So we're like 1/3 to the way of what I predicted. I thought that Johnny would win tonight and drop the belt to Damian Priest in his very first title match, so he can do that all 3 of his runs with the North American title. So that's kind of what I want to see happen there. That match was good. Thatcher and Ciampa delivered, and I predicted all those right. But those War Games matches were 2 amazing ones. The ladies put on such a good opener. I was, not like the men are incapable of following that. Of course they are, especially Undisputed Era. They've proved it time and time again. But the women's match, I think, exceeded my expectations so much that I was like, oh, good luck, fellas, but they pulled it off. Undisputed Era and Pat's team, a guy that's not even a wrestler here really is involved in, what a lot of people are starting to say could be the greatest War Games match ever. So, amazing stuff pretty much all night. We got a lot to discuss. We'll probably get through it. I don't think this will be a terribly long stream, probably an hour. We're going to be back up here tomorrow night, right after Raw, for our weekly Raw review. Should be fun, especially coming right off a show like this. What the fuck are we going to see tomorrow night that's even going to, coming off this high? You talk about a letdown. Raw's a letdown without a pay-per-view the night before. So, and a good one, no less. So we should have a good time being bored to sleep tomorrow night for 3 hours during Raw, but cross that bridge when we get to it. Let me knock out a couple super chats if there are any, and then we'll get right into these results and we'll not waste any time. Here comes some of the grades: 7 out of 10, A-, B+, A+, AA, B+, A+, and 10 out of 10 show. It's really hard for me to go 10 out of 10 or even like A+ on any show because I think every show is good as it is. there's still room for some critique, so I'm going A on this one. Most times I usually don't go higher than B plus or anything, but I'm definitely going on A. Don't think I can give it 10 out of 10, but I can definitely give it 9 out of 10. But it's about as close to a perfect show as you can get, really. I mean, like I said, every match was solid. Every single match was solid. Maybe the importance of the matches is what takes that point off for me. You could have just done Thatcher and Ciampa on NXT. You could have done the strap match on NXT. You could have done the North American title match on NXT. Honestly, there wasn't anything really. This was a great pay-per-view that didn't have any world title matches at all. Where the hell is Finn Balor's hurt, of course, and then what's her face was in the match, and or Io was in the War Games match. So for it still to be a great show without any title matches and stuff, says a lot to the talent there. And we also saw the vignette or the little promo. I'm assuming it's Karrion Kross, the vulture on the thing, and then the clock, and then you hear like tick-tock. I think that means Kross is on his way back, and I guess we'll jump right into a Balor and Kross match for the title right away. It feels like the title's been, for the men, has been non-existent on the show, after, Lee passed it to Kross, and then he got hurt, and then Balor got hurt. Feels like it hasn't even been there. So they're hopefully going to pick that up soon, and that could be on the horizon for New Year's Evil, another announcement that we got on the show that I believe is going to be, it's in my notes here, it's going to be January 6th, I believe, first NXT show of the new year titled New Year's Evil, and it will be on a Wednesday, I guess, and that could be a good spot for, maybe a Karrion Kross return or a match with Balor or something like that. I think that would be a really cool way to kick off the year. Fresh start, fresh year for Kross, and hopefully, he can stay healthy this time and not get injured in the very same match that he won the title. And, be a pretty good match, too, between the two of them, because the same fucking thing happened to Finn Balor after SummerSlam that year. So I think it makes for an interesting match. And hopefully, we're going to get that soon in the future. I want to say hello to Divine Ricks. Thank you for the $5, man. I appreciate it. Great show. I give this takeover 8.5 out of 10. That's very fair. All the matches were great, but I got to admit, Timothy Thatcher reminds me a little bit of Chris Benoit. He reminds me a lot of Chris Benoit, just because of his ruggedness. They don't have exactly the same style. He's more of a mat wrestler, even more than Chris. He might be more of a cross between Angle and Benoit. And they're not even the similar size, really. I think he's a little leaner than Chris. But in terms of their toughness, just the abuse that they can take to their face. Every time this guy is in the ring, he's got a busted nose or a busted ear. His whole ear exploded tonight after a running knee from Tommaso that just, nearly exploded his head, and the fucker still finished the match. So I like him a lot, and I'm going to talk about that match later on. I predicted it right. I thought, based on what we saw last Wednesday, Ciampa, he's former NXT champion. He's one of the best in the company. He's not going to get bitched out on Wednesday and then on top of that lose to Thatcher here, especially since Thatcher is not on any sort of winning streak or anything like that. He's dropped a couple of matches on Wednesdays. Doesn't mean not a big deal for Thatcher to lose to a former NXT champion and one of the faces of the brand. That's not going to hurt him at all. It was an awesome match, but what I liked about it, after the match, they sat on the apron and stared at each other. Tag team. It was almost like a little mutual respect type of thing. And, Ciampa, I think, is going to be, at least for the time being, out of the title picture because it's going to go back to Kross, I'm sure, when he comes back. And Thatcher, I suppose he could contend for the North American title, but I'm not really sure if that's in the cards for him either. I think Priest is going to get another crack at it and hopefully win it from Gargano in the first defense and maybe have a little bit of a run. And then I'd like to see him pass it to somebody like Pete Dunne or something. So I don't think Thatcher is really in the mix in terms of a singles title at the moment. So why not put these two together and call them the Killers or the Murderers? I mean, these two guys on a tag team, the tag team division's somewhat weak in the brand right now. And Tommaso is already, the next stuff, he might not want to be working these style of single matches forever. And if he wants to extend his career, give him a run for a year or so as a tag team. It cuts his workload in half. And it makes them a very formidable team and a very scary team, very dangerous team. And I think one that could yank the belts off of any tag team in the brand immediately. So I'm kind of hoping, just based on that little stare down, that maybe that's a possibility. Would you and your friend want to fight those two guys in a tag team match? I wouldn't. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, hopefully. Chris Miner, thanks for the $5. Hey, Greg, fantastic show tonight. Men's War Games match might be the match of the year. Probably could be. Pat was awesome, and Kyle looked like $1 million. He did. Kyle O'Reilly was awesome. He even got the pin in the finish, I think, right in the main event. McAfee took the big swanton dive off the top and really held his own in there. Again, CM Punk tweeted out earlier this week that everybody in the company should be ashamed that Pat McAfee is the best promo in the whole WWE, maybe aside from Roman. That's a credit to him. He's a loudmouth asshole who came in and actually cared and took it seriously and works well. And he's a guy that's not even a wrestler, could have been involved in match of the year. Crazy. Chris, man, good to see you. Thanks for the 5. Great show. The men's War Games match, to me, was the best they've ever done since they started War Games in 2017. That's right. This is the fourth one, and then they've been in 4. Have they been in all 4? 17, 18, 19, 20, Undisputed Era. I was at 18. I think Ricochet was in that. Pete Dunne was in that. I fucking forget what else happened there. Yeah, so I guess this is the 4th year they've done it. I'm glad it's back. It's been every one so far. Like if they were wondering, oh, should we bring this concept back? It was the right decision because every year has been awesome. 10 out of 10 from Anthony Samuels. Zane G, thanks for the $2. What it do, Greg? Hope all is well. All is doing well. We got a stay-at-home order effective today in California, so I am out of work again for another 3 weeks minimum, probably into the beginning of the year. But I'll be fine. Got plans, got things figured out. It's all going to be good, but it is getting annoying having to shut down and, business being so greatly affected. So one more time, and hopefully we can get this thing under control, get the vaccine out there, and hopefully by mid next year, some of the nightmare will start to subside. But other than that, other than me going to be kind of around the house for the next 3 weeks and not really working, everything is great. So I'm going to definitely put some time into the channel, and I've got some special videos, a couple of live streams, a couple of random videos planned for December. I'll be able to put full effort into those now since I don't have to worry about my other job at the moment. So December, at least on the channel, should be a fun month for the holidays. 2018 was your favorite of all time. I remember that was so much fun going. I had great seats too for that. Where are we? Let's get into the results here, I guess, since we're done chit-chatting. War Games 2020 from the Capitol Wrestling Center. I mentioned in my last couple of podcasts that I was wondering it was going to be tight to even fit 2 rings in that little ass place, much less a ramp and those ridiculous holding cages that are just one of my biggest pet peeves. As much as I love NXT and love War Games, those things piss me off. They are so unnecessary and they're so goddamn stupid. They just lower down like there's no floor on them. So if you really, and they lock the combatants in there, oh, we better lock them in so they can't get out. All you got to do is lift it up, climb the fuck underneath there. I think it's so stupid. So that drives me crazy. So I didn't think there would be room for them. We mentioned that the other night on Friday. I was like, maybe they'll do, how on NXT they had the women up on the little platforms. I'm like, maybe they'll do that. But you could also just put them outside the ring like you used to do in the old days. What's the big deal? But anyway, holding pens are back. And everything looked pretty cool. They were able to cram that whole thing in there. The set looked great. I liked how they lowered the cage. I think that's new too. Normally it just comes straight down, but it kind of folded down, like the sides of the cage kind of folded like a transformer, and put the whole cage together. And right at the end of the pre-show, they start lowering it and doing it. So that told you we're going to open up with a War Games match, and we knew it was going to be the women. So the women and the men are going to bookend this thing. We've got Team Shotzi. It is Shotzi, Blackheart, Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley, and NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai taking on Team Candice. Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, and Toni Storm. Everybody came out there and brought it tonight. I thought these ladies they did not play any games. They did not fuck around. They were not about to go out there and have a weak match by any means, and they really brought it. So everybody gets in the cages. Ember Moon and Dakota Kai, I believe, start out the match and do their thing in there. I think it's 3-minute intervals here. Shotzi is out next, and she immediately goes under the ring and brings out a toolbox and Devon Storm and throws them into the ring. And we get Raquel Gonzalez, I think, out third, followed by Rhea Ripley. So, the beasts are out, after that. Toni Storm, I think, came out 3 minutes after that, went under the ring, got a kendo stick, and we got weapons in there. Now, what was funny about Shotzi bringing the toolbox out and stuff and throwing it in the ring, she didn't bring it. She didn't use it. She threw it in the ring and just started fighting with them. So she just added weapons to the ring basically for anybody. Oh, it's a community weapons. We can all share. I don't know why she didn't hold on to the crowbar and start bashing bitches over the head with it. So that was a little bit weird to me. Io Shirai makes her way out next. So Tony's in the ring. You got tools, you got toolboxes, you got all sorts of weapons in there, kendo sticks. Io makes her way to the ring. She immediately goes under the ring looking for ladders. So she pulls out a ladder, throws the ladder in the ring, but then Raquel stops her from getting in the ring. So she's like pushed off or shoved off the steps there. She goes under the ring for a second ladder and tries to bring that in the ring, but gets nailed off the steps and back into the barricade, and she can't get in the ring. So the entire advantage that the babyfaces are supposed to have is being thwarted here because, they just need to keep her out of the ring for a little while. So she gets stopped time and time again. She even tries to climb up to the top of the cage and gets knocked down. And that's when I think it's Candice's turn. So Candice makes her way out last. Io still hasn't gotten in the ring. So Candice comes out there, and Io kind of gets face-to-face with her, and that's when Indy Hartwell makes her appearance and attacks Io Shirai again, allowing Candice to get in the ring, and still Io can't get in the ring. So now the heels have the advantage, even though they're not supposed to. So the heels, some quick thinking by them. They had a little bit of help, kind of had a fifth girl there in Indy Hartwell coming out, and probably maybe spot of the year. I don't know. Maybe not spot for the extremeness of it. It was just the creativeness and the hilarity of it all. Io Shirai, who still can't get in the ring, finally she climbs up to the top of the cage, but she's got a trash can with her, and she holds the trash can over her head, and she's just grinning, and she just slowly places the trash can over her body, and I'm like, she's gonna dive off with that trash can on her. And it was so great. And she dives with the trash can on her onto all the women who are waiting there. Amazing spot. It might even be better than Shawn doing the elbow onto Vince at WrestleMania 22 off the ladder with Vince at the garbage can on his head. That was a pretty phenomenal spot. But this one was just hilarious. Io Shirai with that fucking girl. I'll never forget that smile on her face before she lowered the thing on her head. Terrific. Just amazing spot there. And the girls here were just getting their asses kicked too. They were just taking bumps on tables and chairs left and right. Ember Moon hits a ridiculous eclipse on Toni Storm after that with kind of two chairs set up. And I guess Ember kind of took the worst of it because she landed ass first on the chairs, but hit Toni with the stunner at the same time. She took a big bump. That looked sick. Shotzi had a senton at one point off a ladder onto Candice with some that were onto some chairs, and that looked like it hurt like hell. And that's when I thought Candice could have been seriously hurt because she was down. She had the chairs like over top of her, and Shotzi just flat back bump right on to Candice. It looked like she might have broke her arm, but she was still moving around in there, and even at the end she had a smile on her face, so maybe not broke, but she could have injured herself there badly. That was a very dangerous and kind of messy looking bump there, maybe the only low spot of the whole match. But in the end, this was surprising. Like I said, this team was unstoppable looking on the babyface side. Holy shit, the talent on this team. And as good as the talent was on the heel side, babyface side was better still. So nobody really expected, I don't think, the heels to win here, but I think they did the right thing. I was perfectly fine with this. The finish saw the little spot, the little bridge or platform in between the rings. Back in the old days, they didn't have that there. You could fall through there. But now they got that piece of steel that goes between the rings, and I guess Raquel Gonzalez has got Io Shirai up in between the two turnbuckles on both rings and kind of lifts her up in powerbomb position. I'm like, oh shit, she's going to powerbomb her, and she did right through, right onto the oh no, I'm sorry, it was on the ladder, excuse me. So the ladder is bridged between the two ring ropes, and then that steel plate is underneath, and she power bombs her from the cage through the ladder onto that thing and pins her for the win. Amazing spot, amazing finish, and really solid win for Raquel Gonzalez. I've liked her since the minute she debuted. There's something about her. She's got a presence. She's big. She's strong. And you got a babyface champion right now. So, it makes sense here to, showcase somebody. Now, I said this in the predictions. I thought they were going to do exactly what they did last year, and they were going to use this match to showcase one girl. I thought that girl was going to be Shotzi. I thought she was going to have a great outing here and win and get the fall for the babyfaces, just like Rhea Ripley did last year, or maybe even fight from behind the way Rhea Ripley did last year, having to, having a team member knocked out, or, have a 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 situation, and she perseveres and wins or whatever. But instead, it was kind of a showcase for Raquel. And when you think about, your champion right now, who doesn't have a really clear challenger in front of her, I don't think, I'm all on board with not only Raquel getting a title program with Io, but potentially winning it. Why not? Got to make people, right? Everybody seems to be impressed with her. She's good. She's real good. I think that a lot of people would probably claim it's too early or whatever. Fuck that. When it comes to, was it too early for Diesel? She's a lot like him. So I think it would be fine if you just utilized her strength and her power. She's already dropped a match clean to Rhea Ripley. Maybe she can come out on Wednesday now and say, I pinned the champion, I deserve a title match. And then they'll do that tired old trope where they all come out there. Rhea will come out and everybody will come out and say, I deserve a shot, I deserve a shot, I deserve a shot. And then Regal will come out and say, we'll make a fatal four-way and the winner will face Io Shirai at New Year's Evil. And then Raquel wins that, maybe pinning Rhea for the finish to get that win back from a few weeks back. Goes in against Io, beats her. I would not complain. Not at all. Bravo, ladies. Fantastic match. Everything about that was good. What'd y'all think? Yeah, she was the MVP. She really was. By the way, you guys smash that thumbs up button for me, since we always have real low audiences in here for the NXT reviews. Help me out a little bit. I'd appreciate it. Let's move on to the next match. Now we had to take a breather from that, so we knew the other War Games match wasn't going to come until the main event. So now we've got our fillers, and the first one was Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa. I really like this match, and I really like Thatcher. He's one of my favorite people in the company. Under normal circumstances, I would have predicted him to win here. I think a lot of people did predict him to win, but not after Wednesday. Like, I think that would have been shitting on Ciampa a little bit, you know, to not only have him get his ass kicked and choked out and punked out on Wednesday, then he goes right into the pay-per-view match and gets beat again. I don't think you need to do that. I think you can still keep Ciampa somewhat strong to keep him a viable, credible opponent on the roster. And you can do the same thing with Thatcher, and this probably will not be their only battle. There'll probably be another one where Thatcher gets the win back. But for the purposes of this particular match, I wanted to see Ciampa win. Came out there with kind of like I don't know what the fuck it was, a Skeletor-looking type of a ring entrance gear. He's wearing the long pants now, and he looked pretty good in this. This match was, I knew it was going to be ridiculously hard-hitting, especially on the Thatcher side. I knew he was going to take some brutal shots to the face and the neck and everything here. And I think the craziest spot was, I don't know, midway through the match, he takes a really hard running knee from Ciampa. And, you know, knee slap or no knee slap, Ciampa caught him hard. His whole head rattled, and it immediately, like, just busted open his ear. And I was worried, though. I was like, oh, shit, I hope he didn't break his eardrum or fuck up his equilibrium or something like that. And it was a lot of blood. It was just streaming down the side of his face. So, you know, you don't see bloody ears that much unless they're torn or ripped or something. And this one seemed to be like a blunt force cause of the bleeding there. So I hope Thatcher's okay. Continues to fight hard. Didn't seem like his balance was off at all. Continued to kick ass in there. And in the end, Ciampa puts him down hard. Even I like the way the Ciampa pinned him, kind of pinning his arm above his head and just really laying on top of him. He kind of went for the guillotine choke, and then Thatcher scurried, was able to get himself, you know, in between, I think, the middle rope, and Ciampa pulled him back and hit him with like that Randy Orton DDT or the Widow's Bell or whatever it is, and pins Thatcher for the win. So that was good. I thought it was the right outcome, and I had no issue with it whatsoever. And like I said in the beginning of the podcast here, the way they stared at each other to me was interesting. I mean, it could have just been a mutual respect type of thing, but I immediately thought tag team, you know, because I feel like neither one of these guys are in the immediate title hunt right now, you know, and they could just continue to tread water and have, you know, just random singles feuds that all probably would have good matches. But in the end, what do they really mean? You know, they're weak on tag teams right now. These two guys are killers. And I said you can put them together and call them the Murderers or I don't know, something gnarly, because they're tough and scary and they could fuck some people up. You put those two guys in the ring with Breezango, that match will be over in 5 seconds. So I am all on board with the potential Ciampa and Thatcher alliance. Maybe in the future, it lightens Ciampa's workload, potentially extending his career, and it gives something for Thatcher to do in the meantime, and it'll put gold around both their waists. Win, win, win. So give me one good reason why not to do that. Good match, though, and solid win for Ciampa. I was happy with it. Up next, we had a very surprisingly good strap match, and I thought after what we saw from Cameron Grimes and Dexter Lumis in the blindfold, that was a letdown. That match sucked, and I thought it was going to be really good, and it was anything but. Here, I thought this match, because I'm so ridiculously entertained by both of these guys, I knew I would enjoy it to an extent, but I certainly didn't think in my head that it could be possibly one of the best strap matches we've ever seen, but it was. They made really good use out of that strap. Grimes brought his own in the ring when they came to the ring and wanted to use that. And the referee's like, "Are you cool with that, Dexter?" And he's like, "I don't give a shit." And Grimes ended up attacking him before they even got the strap on. Eventually, both guys did get tied together. And the match, mostly a lot of it consisted of Grimes trying to escape and Dexter just pulling him back. But Grimes still fought hard, and he still held his own against Dexter. A lot of cool. They were innovative, I think, with the strap more than anything else. Because I always think that strap matches are slightly old school. We don't see that many in modern times, at least not in my head. I think strap matches from like, the 80s and 90s, especially the 80s. And I thought, it was going to be hard to really do better than those, but I thought they were super creative. I loved when Dexter tried to tie Lumis all around the ropes. That would have been fantastic. It was kind of reminiscent of when the New Day got real creative with the kendo sticks in the Hell in the Cell, and they slid them through the cage and locked in the Uso or whatever. That was cool. Kind of reminded me a little bit of that. I thought they made really good use of that. They had chairs in the ring. They had all sorts of stuff going on. The finish saw Dexter kind of trip. He just pulls the strap out from camera, and he falls face first onto a chair. And then Loomis locks him in. His finisher wraps the strap all around his head as he's choking him out. Grimes has no choice but to tap. And that was the right call there, too, because I love Dexter Loomis, and there was no way Cameron, unless he had some huge trick up his sleeve, I think was going to win that thing straight up. And I'm glad that Loomis got the victory there. So that might be the blow-off. I don't know why you would really need to do another one with these guys. They work well together. Normally this feud would be fine to extend, but after what have they had now? 3 gimmick matches? They had the House of Horrors thing or whatever the fuck that was, and then they had the blindfold thing, and now this. I think it's done. So let's move on from them. Right after that was when we got that cool vignette. The vulture on the thing and the clock, and then you hear the tick-tock. So to me, that is a clear sign that Karrion Kross is on his way back, should be fully healed up, and especially if we don't see him again until maybe the beginning of the year at the New Year's Evil thing, that gives him a whole nother month from now, 1 month to the day, actually, before he returns. So that'll give him some extra recuperating time and all of that. So I don't necessarily need to see Karrion on Wednesday, but I suppose it'd be cool if he showed up. Otherwise, I think maybe that could be the tease that we'll see him on January 6th. We'll see. What was up next? Oh, let me knock out the super chat from Deshaun. Always good to see you in here, man. Rhea beat Shayna, NXT champ at last year's War Games, and then won the title weeks later. Raquel, good point. I kind of forgot that Rhea pinned Shayna in the finish of that. And then Raquel beat Io, NXT champ tonight. The push is coming. Yeah, you can tell. I mean, I knew that I knew they were going to do that. I knew that match was going to really showcase one. Someone was going to come out of there the MVP. And not that I'm disappointed it's Raquel. I'm super happy. But in my head, I just thought it would be Shotzi. They're pushing her hard. She was the host of, fucking Halloween Havoc. She's the captain of this team despite not even being the champion. And, she's got a gimmick. WWE likes her. So I thought it would be a showcase for her. But, Raquel really is the better choice. Shotzi's over regardless. She's got the whole gimmick. People like her a lot. So, and like I said, we got a babyface champion right now. She needs a good, strong contender. Voila. There you go. Do the exact same thing you did with Rhea Ripley last year, except you do it with a heel. No arguments from Mr. Mike Work, that's for sure. Next up, we had the triple threat. This one was wacky. Johnny Gargano, or Leon Ruff, defending the North American title against Johnny Wrestling and Damian Priest. I was looking forward to this. Like I said, I predicted Gargano, but I did think that it would be all right if Ruff extended his run here just a hair longer. Like, not too much, but just a little bit longer. If he were to pull off yet another victory here. He's extremely likable, and his run has been fun and hilarious at times, and I would have been cool with it. But I thought the story here was for Gargano to win the title again, and then Priest, since he didn't have really a long run with it to begin with when he won it, him regaining it from Johnny, and Johnny dropping the belt for the 3rd straight time in his first title defense. To me, that's where the story is. It looks like it's headed that way. But this match was still good. Damian Priest seemed kind of like reluctant at times to put the hurting on Leon Ruff. He even had a big like razor's edge spot where he picked him up and threw him through the barricade. Threw him so hard through the barricade that was clearly gimmicked to fall that it toppled over, landed on some production people who then fell into the other barricade, and that one fell down. It was like fucking dominoes. It was hilarious. And Priest was saying, I'm sorry. So he didn't really want to do that to him. The medical staff came out and the refs came out to check on Ruff and actually hauled him out of there. So he left for a little while. And that's when I thought he actually could come back and retain the title. I'm like, if he stays out of this match till the finish, and then Gargano's got Priest, cornered or something, he rolls up Gargano from behind and gets the win. It would be another, escape for him to leave with the title. I kind of thought that was coming. But he didn't stay gone long. He was only gone a couple of minutes, and then he turned back up, immediately attacks both guys. He's got, I think was it both guys or just Johnny on the outside of the ring? Or just Damian? I forgot. Big dive off the top onto the floor. He gives a top rope cutter to Johnny Gargano, which also looked sick. And like I said, Priest, really reluctant to put the beating here on him, but he came back and started, working over Ruff a little bit more. And that's when we get another one of those Scream guys showing up that helped Gargano, I think, win at Halloween Havoc or whatever. And then another one showed up, and then 3 more showed up. So you had 5 of these Scream guys. Shout out to T-Bar from Retribution, who was like, I was wondering where all our Retribution backup went. I guess Johnny stole them, because at one time there was like 36 members of Retribution. We're down to 5 now. So he's wondering where his boys are, and maybe they're in scream masks. I thought it would have been really cool if one of them ripped off their mask to reveal it to be David Arquette. I think that would just be fun. But in the end, they really help Gargano. They take out Ruff and Priest. Ruff still fights back, though. Big near fall on Johnny Gargano that he nearly did not kick out of. But in the end, Gargano regains the advantage, hits the one final beat on Leon Ruff for the win. And he had a lot of help. He had 5 or 6 guys coming out to help him out regain the title, and I'm happy with that. He's the first guy to hold that title 3 times, and I think he's going to pull a Sasha Banks and drop that thing in his first defense. So that was all good. Interesting spot at the end when he's celebrating and leaving up the ramp. One guy reveals the mask or takes the mask off to reveal it's Austin Theory. So I don't know if that means they were all Austin Theory. It's just one guy. He rips off the mask and his dumb face, and he says, it was me, Austin. It was me all along. Kind of creative, but also like, please, like you're on the same level as the higher power. But the Austin thing works. So Theory's back now, and he's, I guess, buddy with Gargano. So Gargano and Candice both have got themselves some BFFs with Indy Hartwell, and now Theory hanging out with Johnny G. So I don't know if there's going to be more of these guys revealed, or if we're still going to have Scream guys around, or if this was just a way to reveal Austin Theory's return. I don't know. But he's back, and yippee, like I give a shit. After that was when we had the announcement for the New Year's Evil show that's coming up on January 6th. So that'll be fun, and that leaves us with the main event. Undisputed Era versus Team Pat McAfee. Make sure we're good over here. Austin pulled a McMahon. He did. Oh, thank you for that, Ryan. Fightful is reporting that Candice is getting her arm x-rayed and checked out, and the fear is a break. I mean, when you watch that spot, I don't know how she didn't break her arm. But tough girl. If she is smiling at the end. Any of y'all ever fucking broke a bone? Are you smiling? No, you're not. So she's very tough. If she's like really, I mean, she had her arm, you know, it was held tight to her. And the way she was holding, I thought it might have been a shoulder. I'm like, oh, maybe she just dislocated her shoulder. You know, you can maybe fake your way through that. But if you got a broken bone in your arm, I am not smiling. She's tougher than me. I am screaming for my life. Put some drugs into me so I don't feel this, please. God, ouch. So I hope it comes back all right, but I don't. She just took that bump hard. Those chairs just rammed right into her arm. So I'm hoping she's all right, but would not be surprised if that was the story in the news coming out of that at all. That leaves us with the phenomenal main event. Great War Games match to close out the show. Team Undisputed Era, like I said, against Team Pat's Pack, or Team Pat, or Team McAfee, or whatever the fuck. I loved the entrances here. Even though I hate with a passion those holding pens, I loved when the heels came out. And Pete Dunne, you know, Pete Dunne's such a badass. He comes out and he's just staring right into the ring, and he's got his boys behind him, and he just sticks his arm out and points to the cage. Get in the fucking cage. You know, I'm going out first kind of thing. And they're like, we better listen to him. So they went into the cage. I think Pete Dunne is such a badass. He starts things out with Kyle O'Reilly, which I think are the two perfect guys to start it out. I like O'Reilly as much as I like Pete Dunne. And then, like I said, with Pete Dunne, I would like, you know, assuming Priest gets the North American title back, I'd like to see Pete Dunne be in line. Somebody needs to break Velveteen Dream's record of being the longest champion. And Dunne's already had that long run as the cruiserweight, or as the NXT UK champ. So I would love for him to be that guy. So maybe put it back on Priest, give him a healthy run, give him through the end of WrestleMania, and then have Pete Dunne take him down and just kill it with the title. Hold it for a year. You know, I like Pete Dunne that much. So they get it on here for 3 minutes, fighting hard. Only Lorcan is out next, which was funny because McAfee. That's why McAfee's such a good damn heel. He's in the cage, like he wants to get out there next. He's next. And then Lorcan is like, no, I got this. And Pat's like, okay. Just backed right off. So he's trying to act like he wants to get in there, but he has no plans of getting in there until the very end. You knew Cole and Pat were going to be the last guys in there. Bobby Fish was out next, followed by Birch 3 minutes later. They bring out, Birch has got some cricket bats, which is an interesting weapon. I'm not sure if we've ever seen a cricket bat used in wrestling before. Maybe if they did a UK show or something like that, or they were a show overseas or something, they might have brought it out or something, but I don't recall ever seeing a cricket bat in the ring, and we've seen VCRs in the ring, so I'm surprised it took this long to get a cricket bat in there. They're using those as weapons. I think there's 2 of them. One of them even breaks over somebody's back, So hard to make notes for matches like this. Jesus. Kyle O'Reilly gets Danny Burch to tap out, but the match hasn't started yet because not everybody's in there. Roderick Strong, I believe, is out next, and then Pat comes out last for the heels. And he immediately goes underneath the ring to pull out a bunch of chairs and a bunch of tables with Undisputed Era logos on them. And I only saw, how many tables did he bring out? The one that was in the ring leaning up against the ropes had fish on it. Were there 4 tables all with names on it? I was in and out preparing for the stream, so my eyeballs were not completely on this match the entire time. I know we had a lot of table bumps. I just don't remember if they had names for all of them. That was kind of cool. So he gets all that shit in the ring, and that's when Cole comes out. He makes it out his way out last, immediately uses a fire extinguisher on the guys, and everyone eventually gets taken out. They're all laying there, and the only 2 guys standing are Pat McAfee and Adam Cole, and that was a pretty good visual, especially when they're both standing there looking at each other in separate rings, and Pete Dunne just slowly walks in between them and kind of heads off, and then Pat, of course, is very confident now. He's got some backup. Shout out again to Pat McAfee, who not only delivered a lot of impressive offense, but took some sick bumps. Gnarly spot on the table where he didn't hit like a flat back bump through the table. He almost just hit his head and neck. He broke his fall with his head and neck, which is good. No, it's not good. Went through that table hard. That was pretty good. I loved the spot where they had like the heels in between the ring and the ropes. Undisputed Era did, and all 4 of them are just pelting them with super kicks and running forearms and punches. And it was just like, it was like pinball. That was a lot of fun. They were just taking a fucking beating. And after that, when they do all that to those guys, that kind of singles out and isolates Pat McAfee. He's all by himself, and all 4 Undisputed Era guys are on their feet and fine. And they corner him. I think it was O'Reilly who was smacking the back of McAfee's head, and they're just flicking his ear and smacking his head and pinching his titties and all that. Finally, they all just swarm him and attack him. They beat the hell out of him. The heels, though, regroup before, kind of the story here, I think, was Undisputed Era could have just killed him and pinned him. But they really, this was months coming. They really wanted to put the boots to him here. And probably their obsession with wanting to hurt him as bad as they could cost them here, because the heels were able to regroup. They jump back in the fray and save Pat's rabbit ass. Everybody winds up getting murdered, like I said, with tables. McAfee climbs up to the top. You have all 7 guys. Look like they all came face to face in the middle of the ring. Everybody but Pat. He climbs up to the top of the cage and swantons onto everybody again. For someone like him, for Jeff Hardy, that's a fucking piece of cake. But for Pat McAfee, that's a pretty big bump for someone like him. And that was incredible. And he also kicked out of a Panama Sunrise after that. Adam Cole hit him with a sweet one. He kicked out, completely kicked out. So props to Cole, who's like, he's impressed enough with McAfee. You know what? Kick out of my finish. You've earned it. Good stuff there. In the end, though, after everybody just gets murdered with tables and chairs, I think Kyle O'Reilly lost an arm. Roderick Strong's ass was bleeding, and I think one person was decapitated. Finally, you get Kyle O'Reilly pinning Oney Lorcan after a second rope knee, maybe a top rope knee. I forgot. He's got onto Lorcan, who's got a chair over his face. So he just smashes the chair right into his face, pins him, wins the match for the team, and the Undisputed Era continues to roll. I thought it was going to be bad luck that they weren't out there in their yellow. They were wearing a red and black, or red and gray, I think. So I thought maybe that was a sign that maybe they might be breaking up. But in the end, they stayed together. They remained strong. They put down the heels, and it was just magnificent from top to bottom pay-per-view. Good stuff. Men brought it, women brought it, and everybody in between brought it. Even the buffer matches delivered hard. So cannot say enough good things about the performance tonight and the show. We need that, man. It's 2020. It's COVID. The fact that we're still able to get good, exciting wrestling shows that are consisting of matches that we consider to be some of the best of all time in the middle of this COVID era, thank God that we're not still in just that empty, dead, quiet performance center that I know a lot of people don't like piped in. This is awesome chants. And sometimes it comes off bad or distracting, but you still got to admit this is a million times better. As hokey as the Thunderdome is, what the fuck do you expect them to do, man? I think they made the best of it here, and it's when you think about where we were in April or May compared to where we are now, it's night and day. So wrestling is surviving in this crazy pandemic era. Lorcan was bleeding from his mouth and eye. Okay, so he was not the one decapitated. That's good. Fantastic, man. I swear WWE does not know what to do with Austin Theory. First, he is just a solo competitor in NXT. Then he was with Garza and Andrade. Then he is a disciple for Rollins, and now he is with Gargano. They do. Some of that might not be their fault. I think they took him away from Rollins because of the Me Too shit. Didn't he have some, or the, what's it called? The speaking out. That's what I meant to say. I think he had a couple of, what's it called? Not charges. Why can't I think right now? But somebody came out and said something about him. I think it spooked WWE. Accusations. That's the fucking word I'm looking for. And WWE maybe yanked him off of, the main roster for that, put him back in NXT, and just going to go from there, I guess. So maybe one of those switches isn't their fault, because I think he might have stayed with Rollins had that not happened. But the other stuff, Garza and Andrade first, and then heading over to Rollins, yeah, they simply can't figure it out. Now he's with Gargano. We'll see how long this lasts. I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of hoping Gargano loses the title in his first defense, so that means that Theory probably isn't going to be with him for long. As long as he's the champion, I think Theory will stay with him. But, if he drops it right away, what use does he have for Theory after that? Especially if Theory is out there, tries to help him win, and he still loses. He might 86 him. I don't know. This doesn't sound like it's going to be a long alliance at all. Damn, only 55 people in here. Jesus. Domination Warrior. Good to see you, man. Appreciate the $2. I miss Morrow. Imagine him and Don West in NXT. I'd rather not. As much as I love Morrow, sometimes he freaks me out. And Don West is just a goddamn windbag. So if those two got together, I don't think I can handle it. It would be like a stress test out of control. It would be way too much energy for me. They would have me nervous and anxious and just real spazzy. That's too much spaz for me. You got to have something to balance that out. Kind of like a tag team. You don't want two guys the exact same. You got to have some guys who can do what the other can't. And I think Morrow's better than Don by a mile, but their intensity is the same, and that's too much for Greg. Oh, sorry. Thank you for that, Ryan. Dakota hit the Dakota took the Eclipse. I don't know why I thought that was Tony Storm. That was so sick. My God. That was one of my favorite spots of the match, too. I mean, EO is the MVP of the night. The fucking trash can of the thing. Nothing's going to beat that. But that one was pretty bad. Hope Ember's okay, too. Any bump where you're landing on a chair that's like set up and like unfolded, and you're landing on that top part or something like that is just a scary. You knock your face and knock your jaw off. Thank you, Victor. Allegations, accusations. Why couldn't I think of those words? That's what happens when you're live. Sometimes you just stall like a computer. Full Gear to you was too long. Thought every match delivered tonight. Yeah, every match definitely delivered tonight. Full Gear, was it long? How long did Full Gear go? I don't even remember. It was a couple weeks. It was like recently. I did a review on it. I think for COVID era and stuff like that, I thought 3 hours was perfect. 5 matches, 3 hours. That's pretty much the standard. Back in the 90s, most pay-per-views were like 6 matches, 3 hours, 5 to 7 matches, and usually 3 hours long. Actually, 2 hours, 45 minutes long most of the time, because back in the day on pay-per-view, they would have to be off quarter till, not at the top of the hour. So the network gives them a little bit more time, and I think 3 hours is more than enough. No wrestling show right now, unless it's a SummerSlam or Rumble or Mania, should really go beyond 3 hours, I don't think. Keep it all simple. Don't burn us out. But I don't recall how long Full Gear was. Imagine you look up and just see a diving trash can above you. I know. Like I said, it reminded me, even though they're two completely different bumps, it reminded me of the Vince one at WrestleMania 22, because I thought that was such a funny visual with Vince on that table with that trash can on him. And when Shawn hit that elbow, the way he kind of bumped and slid off to the side off the table was hysterical. I love when they were doing, there was some DVD, I forgot. It might have been the Vince DVD or something, but Jericho was being interviewed. And he's talking about that bump. And he's like, imagine being Vince under there, under the trash can going, is it now? Is it now? Is it now? Is it now? It's got to be such a scary bump to take. But I think EO's just brought the biggest smile to my face I've ever seen. Just hilarious. I don't think I'll ever forget that visual of her diving off that with the trash can. Amazing stuff. Oh, no kidding. Full Gear was almost 5 hours. I don't know. I forgot. Jesus. WrestleMania weekend, Io Shirai versus Asuka for the Raw Women's title, Bianca versus Sasha for the SmackDown Women's title, Rhea versus Raquel for the NXT Women's title. Man, that would be a weekend, wouldn't it? Any one of those matches could make a case for a pay-per-view main event. Maybe not WrestleMania, but definitely pay-per-view. That would be quite the weekend. If they saved all three for that same weekend, that would probably be, even though Becky, main evented a WrestleMania with Charlotte and Ronda, I think that would be the women at their peak. It doesn't get any better than that. But then again, I feel like we'd see we got it of those three matches that you have there. Who retains? They can't all drop, right? They might, but I feel like I think every challenger in that scenario has to win, and I'm not sure if that's realistic. Might be my only concern with that. It was Barry. It was probably like a WrestleMania DVD or something. I forget. There's a million fucking DVDs. I just remember Jericho talking about that bump, and he had me cracking up. Is it now? Is it now? Is it now? Oh my god. I mentioned it earlier, NXT's New Year's show. I think that could be where you try to set up Karrion Kross and Finn Balor, and where you possibly even do Raquel and Io Shirai. So that looks like it's shaping up to be a good show. We need a fresh start. We need a good way to kick off 2021, and that could be a perfect way to get it done. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We got everything in here. I talked about everything I needed to. I've been up here a lot lately. I've been up here. This is my fourth time this week, and I'm going to be up here tomorrow after Monday Night Raw for a full show review. So I'm going to get out of here and just hang out and take it easy tonight. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. The few of you that were here, always a pleasure. And smash the thumbs up button on your way out the door and join us tomorrow after Raw. We'll be back at it again for another live stream, and we're going to make it a good month on the channel, close out the year strong. Thanks for hanging out tonight, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.